I would like to use this presentation on global warming to show you some interesting snippets of the subject, and above all, to get your action for it. Yes, this is me. Retired electrical engineer and with plenty of time on my hands. I've studied all I can, and my purpose is to show you these beautiful spots on Earth that are disappearing because global warming is raising the temperature of the climate. We must do something about it. Well, let's see what we might do about it, and I'll start with global population. From the time of Christ to year zero, the global population on Earth has bubbled along under 1 billion people until about the 1800s, and then something happened, something dramatic happened. We found energy, we found coal, we found oil. We could make steam in. The population when I was a boy, 2.1 billion people. Today, 6.9 billion people. And this in my lifetime. And experts say it will go to 9 billion people. But what if it doesn't? What if it keeps going? Where will all resources come from? Where will the energy come from? And look down the bottom at the yellow band that's just beginning to appear. That's the population of the dominant European race on Earth. You know, the ones who used to control the world. And our population is decreasing. This is setting the scene for very serious geopolitical situations of the future. And consumption. And all these people are consuming and consuming without a thought to their own health or the cost of health to the community. And just look at your supermarket shelves. They are stacked with goods. Goods you don't need. Goods invented by marketing people. A bottle of water would be the classic in that regard. But it's not the consumption of food that's the problem. It's the consumption of goods and services that go with us. Just look at the world electricity consumption. From 1950, there were 5,000 billion kilowatt hours. By 2020, it's predicted to be 25,000 billion kilowatt hours. Where's that energy coming from? And look at the international tourism arrivals by air. 1950, practically zero. By 2020, 1.6 billion arrivals, and most of those in Europe and USA. Where will all that aviation fuel come from? Tourism is becoming one of our greatest wasters. Now the size of energy. If that's the population of Earth, and we multiply that by those people who live at the level of the underdeveloped countries and the level we do, that would require 18,000 of those large coal plants to supply the energy, assuming there was no oil or hydro and so on. Or you could have 18,000 nuclear plants. Or you could have 190 million wind towers, provided the wind blew, of course, but that's another subject. However, if the population all went to our standard of living, we'd need 3 times those plants. Worse still, if the population went to 9 billion people, it's not 3 times we'd need, it's 5. So the problem is not to solve today's energy problem, but to solve the energy problem looking 50 years ahead, because the investment in these plants is enormous. Well then, who is responsible for the greenhouse gases? The diagram shows the tons per person, and USA, of course, is the highest polluter. Russia, the European Union and Japan are less than half of USA. China, who is often accused of being the big polluter, has a very low intensity per person. Just look at Australia and Brazil. We are equal polluters with 1.3% of the world's emissions. Australia has 22 million people. Brazil has 188 million people. Yet Australia is way out in front. The global average is 5, and we in Australia are 25 tonnes per person per year. And that's because we're burning coal. Can we continue to have these emissions and continue to burn the coal we do? I don't think so. But enough of hard facts for the moment. And here's positive proof of global warming. Well, global heating actually. We don't need the IPCC to tell us that all these dreadful things are going to happen, or skeptics to tell us that they're not. You'd be a brave man to disagree with these facts. The Earth's orbit. I want to tell you something about the Milankovitch cycles. 100,000 years ago, and today, and 100,000 years in the future, the Earth went around the Sun in a circle. But it wasn't always so. 50,000 years ago, the Earth went around the Sun in an elliptical orbit, which gave us very cold, long winters. The ice ages came upon us, the sea levels decreased, and man was able to walk out of Africa through the Bering Strait to North America and into Australia. And then it returned in 50,000 years to today's situation. These are the Milankovitch cycles, and so often confused with global warming, and they are not global warming, they are a natural phenomenon. Let's just look at the history of carbon dioxide and temperature. From today, looking back 200,000 years, 400,000 years, carbon dioxide has remained between the two limits of 200 parts per million and 300 parts per million, with a very characteristic 100,000 year periodicity. And look at temperature. It has moved along in exactly the same pattern following CO2, between 6 degrees centigrade and 14 degrees centigrade. And our civilization has lived on this little warm plateau here, right on the end, in the last 10,000 years or so, not more. Now, what has happened in recent times is that carbon dioxide has rocketed up to 400 parts per million, and temperature's going with it. Temperature's going where? This is global warming, and this is the real problem. The scientific evidence for the correspondence between carbon dioxide and temperature comes from the ice core records. Drilled some 4 kilometres down and collecting ice from more than 500,000 years ago. As the snow falls each year, it locks in with it the air of the year, with the carbon dioxide and the oxygen of that year. And from slivers of that ice, at precise depths, we can analyse the carbon dioxide directly, and from the oxygen we can analyse the temperature of that year with great accuracy.